Most home gardens are filled with tomatoes, peppers, and lettuce. They taste wonderful, but if grocery stores ever closed for good, those crops alone would not keep you fed. After 3 decades of growing food, I have learned which plants actually put calories in the pantry. Today I am sharing 14 crops that could sustain you through hard times. Stick around for number 12, an onion that replants itself forever, plus a bonus tip that ties it all together. The first crop every survival gardener needs to grow is potatoes. There is a reason civilizations have relied on this humble tuber for centuries. Potatoes are one of the most calorie-dense vegetables you can produce at home, and they grow successfully across USDA zones 3 through 10, which covers nearly the entire country. For reliable performance, look for varieties like Yukon Gold or Kennebec. Yukon Gold gives you that buttery flavor and smooth texture that works beautifully mashed or roasted. Kennebec is a workhorse variety that produces heavy yields and stores exceptionally well. Both are proven performers in home gardens. What makes potatoes so valuable in a food security situation is their incredible productivity in small spaces. You can grow them in traditional rows, raised beds, grow bags, or even stacked containers. A 10-foot row can easily produce 15 to 20 pounds of food. That is a lot of meals from a small footprint. Storage is where potatoes really shine. Harvest them carefully, let them cure for a week or two in a cool spot, then move them to a dark location around 38 to 45 degrees. Under these conditions, your harvest can last 4 to 6 months or longer. When fresh produce is scarce, those stored potatoes become incredibly precious. The second crop that belongs in every survival garden is dry beans. Most gardeners grow green beans for fresh eating, but if you want food that lasts for years, you need to let those pods mature and dry right on the plant. A single cup of cooked dried beans delivers around 200 calories along with protein and fiber, making them one of the most nutritionally complete foods you can grow at home. Dry beans thrive across zones 3 through 10, so climate is rarely a limiting factor. For a dual-purpose variety, try Provider bush beans. You can pick them young for fresh green beans, or let them mature fully for shelling and storage. If your focus is purely on long-term food storage, black turtle beans are outstanding. They produce reliably, dry down beautifully, and have that rich flavor perfect for soups and rice dishes. Growing dry beans is straightforward. Plant after your last frost. Keep them reasonably watered until flowering. Then let the pods dry brown and crispy on the vine. Shell them out. Spread the beans in a single layer for a week to ensure they are fully dry, and store them in glass jars or food-grade buckets. Properly dried beans remain viable and nutritious for 5 years or more. That kind of shelf life turns a summer harvest into a true emergency food reserve. The third crop we need to discuss is grain corn, specifically dent or flint varieties grown for meal, grits, and flour. This is not your typical sweet corn that you eat fresh off the cob. Grain corn is left on the stalk until the kernels are completely dry and hard, then processed into storable staples that can feed your family for months. Varieties like Reed's Yellow Dent have been grown by American farmers for over a century because they perform so well in home garden conditions. This open-pollinated corn thrives in zones 4 through 9 and produces large ears packed with starchy kernels perfect for grinding. Growing grain corn follows the same basic principles as sweet corn. Plant in blocks rather than single rows to ensure good pollination. Keep the soil consistently moist during tasseling, and then let nature do the rest. Once the stalks turn brown and the kernels dent inward, your corn is ready. Pull back the husks and let the ears continue drying in a well-ventilated area. When the kernels are rock hard and pop off the cob easily, you can store them whole or grind them as needed. A simple hand-cranked grain mill turns those dried kernels into fresh cornmeal for cornbread, polenta, grits, or tortillas. You end up with a homegrown carbohydrate source that rivals anything from the grocery store, and it keeps for a year or more in sealed containers. Now, if you're finding this video helpful so far, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps this video reach more gardeners like yourself, who would also find this information helpful. All right, let's continue. The fourth crop on our list is sweet potatoes, and they deserve a spot in every food security garden. While regular potatoes are fantastic, sweet potatoes bring even more nutritional value to the table. They are packed with beta-carotene, vitamin C, and complex carbohydrates that provide sustained energy. Sweet potatoes grow best in zones 5 through 11, though gardeners in cooler areas can extend their range with black plastic mulch or row covers to warm the soil. The variety Beauregard has become the gold standard for home growers. It matures relatively quickly, produces excellent yields, and has that deep orange flesh loaded with nutrients. Unlike regular potatoes that grow from seed pieces, sweet potatoes start from slips, which are small rooted shoots grown from last year's tubers. You can buy slips from garden centers or learn to produce your own by suspending a sweet potato in water a few weeks before planting time. Once in the ground, sweet potatoes need minimal attention. Give them loose, well-drained soil, consistent moisture early on, and plenty of warm days. The vines will spread vigorously, and by fall, you will have a treasure trove of tubers beneath the surface. After harvest, curing is essential. Keep the roots in a warm, humid spot for about 10 days, then move them to cool storage. Properly cured sweet potatoes last 4 to 6 months, providing hearty meals deep into winter. The fifth survival crop worth your garden space is winter squash. These vigorous vines produce some of the most storable food you can grow, with minimal processing required. A single planting of winter squash can yield dozens of large fruits that keep for 3 to 6 months at room temperature, or in a root cellar. That kind of natural shelf life is rare in the vegetable world. Winter squash grows across zones 3 through 10, making it accessible to gardeners throughout the country. For maximum storage potential, focus on varieties bred specifically for keeping. Waltham butternut is a classic choice that has proven itself over decades. The tan-skinned fruits have dense, sweet flesh that actually improves in storage as starches convert to sugars. Other excellent storage types include Blue Hubbard, Burgess Buttercup, and various machada squashes. Growing winter squash requires patience and space. The vines spread extensively, though you can train them vertically on sturdy trellises if ground space is limited. Plant after all frost danger passes. Keep the soil evenly moist, and watch for squash vine borers in susceptible areas. Harvest before hard frost when the stems turn corky and the rinds resist puncture from your fingernail. Cure them in a warm, sunny spot for 10 days to harden the skin, then store in a cool, dry location. Each squash becomes a complete meal waiting on the shelf. The sixth crop I want to introduce is Jerusalem artichoke, also called sunchoke. This lesser-known vegetable is one of the most reliable and low-maintenance foods you can grow for long-term security. Once established, Jerusalem artichokes come back year after year with almost no effort on your part. They thrive in zones 3 through 9 and tolerate poor soil, drought, and neglect that would kill most garden vegetables. What makes sunchokes truly special for survival gardening is how they store themselves. The starchy tubers stay perfectly preserved underground through winter, acting as a living food bank you can dig as needed. There is no curing, no root cellar, and no worry about spoilage. Simply leave them in the ground and harvest when you want fresh food. Any tubers left behind will sprout the following spring, ensuring your patch perpetuates itself indefinitely. Jerusalem artichokes are related to sunflowers, and they look the part. The plants shoot up 6 to 10 feet tall and produce cheerful yellow blooms in late summer. Each plant generates a cluster of knobby tubers below ground that taste slightly nutty and sweet. You can roast them, mash them, slice them raw into salads, or cook them into soups. The tubers contain inulin rather than starch, which makes them particularly valuable for gardeners watching their blood sugar. Plant them once in a dedicated corner of your property, and you will have food coming back every single year. The seventh crop every survival gardener should consider is kale. When most people think of emergency food, they focus on calories and storage. But nutrient-dense greens are equally critical for long-term health, and no leafy crop produces as reliably over as many months as kale. This tough, adaptable plant keeps growing through conditions that wilt lettuce and spinach, providing fresh vitamins when you need them most. Kale thrives across zones 3 through 10 and actually tastes sweeter after frost. In mild winter areas like zones 9 and 10, you can harvest fresh kale leaves nearly year-round with successive plantings. Lacinato kale, sometimes called dinosaur kale, offers tender blue-green leaves with an earthy, slightly sweet flavor. Winterbore is another excellent choice, bred specifically for cold tolerance and producing heavily ruffled leaves that hold up well in snow. One of kale's greatest strengths is its cut and come-again nature. Rather than harvesting whole plants, you simply pick the outer leaves and let the center continue growing. A single plant can provide harvests for 6 months or longer using this method. Kale works in traditional beds, raised planters, or even large containers on a patio. The nutritional profile is remarkable, delivering high levels of vitamins A, C, and K along with calcium and antioxidants. When other crops have finished for the season, kale stands strong in the garden, giving you fresh food through fall and into winter. The eighth survival crop you should be growing is storage cabbage. Large, dense heads of cabbage have sustained families through harsh winters for centuries, and modern storage varieties make this tradition even easier. Unlike standard cabbages that last only a few weeks after harvest, storage types are bred specifically to remain firm and flavorful for months in a cool basement or root cellar. Cabbage grows well in zones 3 through 9, preferring the cooler temperatures of spring and fall. For maximum keeping quality, seek out varieties like Brunswick or Storage No. 4. These produce tight, heavy heads with thick leaves that resist rot and hold their texture in cold storage. Brunswick has been a homesteader favorite for generations, while Storage No. 4 is specifically bred for extended keeping and can last well into spring from a fall harvest. Plant storage cabbage in mid to late summer so the heads mature in the cool days of autumn. This timing produces denser heads with better storage potential than spring-planted cabbage. Harvest after a few light frosts, which actually improves the flavor, but before a hard freeze damages the leaves. Trim off loose outer leaves, leave the stem attached, and store heads in a humid environment just above freezing. Under ideal conditions, storage cabbage keeps 4 to 6 months. Beyond fresh eating, cabbage converts beautifully into sauerkraut, a fermented food that preserves even longer while adding beneficial probiotics to your diet. The ninth crop that earns a place in the survival garden is storage carrots. Carrots grow as a cool, season crop across zones 3 through 10, making them accessible to gardeners throughout the country. While any carrot tastes delicious fresh from the ground, storage varieties are bred specifically to hold their flavor, texture, and nutritional value for months after harvest. The variety Bolero stands out as one of the best keepers available to home gardeners. This Nantes-type carrot produces smooth, cylindrical roots with excellent sweetness that actually intensifies during cold storage. Growers consistently report that Bolero tastes better after 2 or 3 months in the root cellar than it did at harvest. That kind of improvement over time is unusual and valuable when you are counting on stored food to carry you through winter. Carrots prefer loose, sandy soil free of rocks and debris that can cause forking. Work the bed deeply before planting and keep the surface moist until germination, which can take 2 to 3 weeks. For storage carrots, plant in mid to late summer so the roots mature in cool fall weather. Harvest after several frosts, but before the ground freezes solid. In milder climates, you can mulch heavily and leave carrots in the ground all winter, digging them as needed. For traditional storage, trim the tops to 1/2 inch, brush off loose soil without washing, and pack the roots in boxes of damp sand or sawdust kept just above freezing. Stored this way, carrots remain crisp and sweet for 4 to 6 months. The 10th survival crop on our list is storage onions. Onions add flavor to nearly every savory dish, but beyond taste, they contribute real calories and nutrients that matter when food is scarce. A properly grown and cured storage onion can last 8 to 12 months, turning a single summer harvest into almost a full year of cooking. The variety Patterson has earned its reputation as one of the finest storage onions available. This long day onion produces large, firm bulbs with tight skins that resist sprouting and rot in storage. Trials and grower reports consistently confirm that Patterson outlasts most other varieties, often remaining solid well into the following summer. If you garden in northern regions where summer days are long, Patterson is an excellent choice for your food security plans. Growing storage onions requires attention to timing. Start seeds indoors 10 to 12 weeks before your last frost, or purchase transplants from a reliable source. Set them out as early as the ground can be worked, since onions need those lengthening spring days to trigger bulb formation. Keep them weeded and watered until the tops begin to yellow and fall over naturally. Once most tops have fallen, stop watering and let the bulbs cure in the ground for a week or two. Pull them on a dry day. Spread them in a single layer in a warm, airy spot for 2 to 3 weeks until the necks are completely dry. Then trim and store in mesh bags or braids in a cool, dry location. The 11th crop worth growing for long-term food security is hardneck garlic. Every kitchen needs garlic, and growing your own means you never run out of this essential flavoring. Beyond its culinary importance, garlic stores well, propagates easily from saved cloves, and produces edible scapes in early summer as a bonus harvest. The variety music has become a favorite among home gardeners for good reason. This hardneck type is hardy to at least zone 3, produces large, easy-to-peel cloves with robust flavor, and stores for 6 to 8 months under proper conditions. Music also sends up thick, curly scapes that you harvest in June before they straighten. These scapes taste like mild garlic and work beautifully in stir-fries, pestos, and salads. Garlic follows a unique growing schedule compared to most vegetables. Plant individual cloves in fall, typically 4 to 6 weeks before the ground freezes. The cloves establish roots before winter, go dormant under the snow, then surge into growth as soon as spring arrives. This head start produces much larger bulbs than spring planting allows. Harvest when the lower third of leaves have browned, but several green leaves remain at the top. Cure the bulbs in a shaded, well-ventilated area for 3 to 4 weeks, then trim the roots and stems for storage. Save your largest, healthiest bulbs for replanting each fall, and your garlic patch becomes self-sustaining, providing food year after year from that single initial purchase. The 12th crop I'm excited to share with you is Egyptian walking onions. If you want a truly permanent food source that requires almost no ongoing effort, this unusual perennial onion deserves serious consideration. Egyptian walking onions are hardy across zones 3 through 10 and literally replant themselves, spreading slowly through your garden to create an ever-expanding patch of edible onions. The name comes from their unique reproduction method. Instead of producing flowers and seeds, these onions grow clusters of small bulbils at the top of their stalks. As the stalks mature and bend under the weight, those bulbils touch the ground, take root, and start new plants. The colony gradually walks across your garden, always producing fresh food without any replanting required. You can harvest Egyptian walking onions at multiple stages. The green tops work like scallions or chives in any recipe, calling for mild onion flavor. The small top bulbils can be pickled or used whole in cooking. The underground bulbs, while smaller than regular onions, have a pleasant, pungent flavor for soups and stews. One planting provides 3 different harvests indefinitely. Establishing Egyptian walking onions is simple. Plant the bulbils or divisions in fall or early spring, water them in and wait. They need virtually no care once established and tolerate drought, poor soil, and cold winters that would challenge most crops. Within a few years, your patch will produce more green onions than you can use, all from plants that maintain themselves without any annual replanting. The 13th survival crop to grow at home is sunflowers, specifically the oilseed types grown for their edible seeds. While ornamental sunflowers brighten the garden, black oil varieties like Perennials produce seed heads packed with some of the most calorie-dense food you can grow. 100 grams of sunflower seeds contains over 580 calories, along with significant protein and healthy fats. That energy density rivals nuts and far exceeds most garden vegetables. Sunflowers grow easily across zones 4 through 9, tolerating heat, moderate drought, and less than perfect soil. Perennials was developed specifically for oil production and yields abundantly in home garden conditions. The plants reach 5 to 6 feet tall and produce single large heads filled with small, thin-shelled seeds. These seeds press easily if you want to make your own cooking oil, or eat them roasted as a high-energy snack and salad topping. Growing sunflowers for seed is straightforward. Direct sow after your last frost in a sunny location, thin to about 18 inches apart, and water during dry spells until the heads form. Once the back of the flower head turns yellow and the seeds look plump, cut the head with about a foot of stem attached. Hang it in a dry, well-ventilated area protected from birds and rodents. When fully dry, rub the seeds free by hand or against a hardware cloth screen. Store the cleaned seeds in airtight containers in a cool location. They keep well for a year or more and provide concentrated nutrition when you need calories most. The 14th and final crop on our survival list is an apple tree, specifically a storage variety that keeps for months after harvest. While fruit trees take longer to establish than annual vegetables, the payoff is decades of reliable food production with minimal yearly effort. A mature apple tree can produce hundreds of pounds of fruit in a good year, providing fresh eating, cooking, drying, and cider-making opportunities that no annual crop can match. The variety Liberty stands out for home orchards focused on food security. This semi-dwarf tree resists the major apple diseases, including scab, cedar apple rust, fire blight, and powdery mildew. That disease resistance means you can grow healthy fruit without the spray schedules commercial orchards require. Liberty thrives in zones 4 through 8, producing crisp, sweet apples with a slight tartness that stores exceptionally well. Under proper cold storage conditions, Liberty apples keep 3 months or longer, extending your harvest well into winter. Plant your apple tree in full sun with good air circulation and well-drained soil. Semi-dwarf trees reach 8 to 12 feet tall and begin bearing meaningful crops in 3 to 4 years. Once established, annual care involves dormant pruning, some thinning of fruit clusters, and watching for pest pressure. The investment of time and patience pays dividends for decades. A single healthy apple tree can produce food for 40 years or more, making it one of the most valuable long-term additions to any survival garden. And now for the bonus tip that ties everything together. The real secret to food security is not just growing these crops individually, but creating an overlapping harvest calendar that keeps food coming into your kitchen every single month. Start by mapping out when each crop matures and how long it stores. Potatoes harvested in summer last into winter. Winter squash picked in fall carries you to spring. Garlic and onions from midsummer stretch nearly a full year. Carrots and cabbage from fall hold until your new garden starts producing. Kale bridges the gap when stored crops run low. Jerusalem artichokes wait underground until you need them. Egyptian walking onions provide fresh greens before anything else wakes up. When you layer these crops strategically, your stored harvest from last year overlaps with fresh harvests from this year, and suddenly there is no hungry gap. You are eating from your garden 12 months of the year, every year, regardless of what happens at the grocery store. That is true food independence. Thanks for sticking with me through the entire video. If you found this helpful, give it a like, subscribe for more gardening tips, and check out our other videos on growing a better garden.